They can't come out and talk about vaccine injuries, for example, because Pharma is paying them millions of dollars a month. So if they talk about how bad these things are and actually report on the true news that exists, then that would be devastating for their sponsors, and they don't want to do that.
There's only 2 countries in the world that allow direct-to-consumer advertising by pharmaceutical companies on television. We're one of those countries. New Zealand is the other. It's had a disastrous impact on human health, on people's relationships with their doctors, and really on the entire gestalt where Americans are led to believe that there's a pill for every ill.
RFK Jr. goes swinging after the Pharma advertisements that you see all over your cables, with all the senior citizens frolicking around the dewy meadows. Life's never been good. Everything is beautiful. You might have a couple consequences like hair loss, balding. You might have heart murmurs, heart attacks, stroke, brain damage, kidney disease. You know the list that goes on. Your testicles will fall off, whatever. Doesn't matter. Whole list here. They just kind of put that in the very end, and everything else is just incredible. Wow. I can run again with my wife with round flowers. We see it all the time, and it's like every other commercial is one of those. So now Trump signed an executive order. It represents the most significant action in a generation to rein in those misleading pharmaceutical advertisements. Just take this pill. It'll cure your cotton mouth. Might have a side effect of death or brain damage, but you don't want cotton mouth anymore, or restless leg syndrome or something. Here, take this pill for that. So the executive order came down here from the Secretary of Health and Human Services and the Commissioner of Food and Drugs. They say here, in 1962, the Congress vested the FDA with the authority to regulate prescription drug advertising, FDA. The advertisements can mislead the public about the risks and the benefits. They can encourage medications over lifestyle changes, and they can inappropriately intervene in the physician-patient relationship and advantage the expensive drugs over the cheaper generics. The FDA has historically stipulated that a drug manufacturer, packager, a distributor, or anything, they must provide the public with materially complete information that fairly balances both of the benefits and the risks of the drugs, which you never see. It's always like 60 seconds of incredibleness, and then, side effects are death, nausea, vomiting, infertility, whatever. My administration will ensure that this framework results in more fair, balanced, and complete information for American consumers, because over time, the FDA's requirements have permitted drug companies to include less information, particularly in broadcast advertising, and drug manufacturer advertising has skyrocketed in recent decades. And the advertising, in many ways, many people are, the thesis is that you're not actually trying to sell the drugs, and that's a benefit. It's like a double dip, right? You get to sell the drugs, you get to tell people, just talk to your doctor about this new pill that you'll have to be on for the rest of your life, that you can buy from us, like a subscription service that you can never get off because it's like Netflix for your body, just as terrible. Now, my administration will fix this. The Secretary, RFK, shall therefore take appropriate actions to ensure transparency and accuracy in direct-to-consumer prescription drug advertising, including by increasing the amount of information regarding any risks associated with the use of these drugs to the extent they're permitted and applicable by law. But yes, selling the drugs is a part of the process of the advertisement, but it's also to buy complicity and stop and silence or minimize any criticism that would come out from the news companies. They can't come out and talk about vaccine injuries, for example, because Pharma is paying them millions of dollars a month. So if they talk about how bad these things are and actually report on the true news that exists, then that would be devastating for their sponsors, and they don't want to do that. So RFK now shall review this to make sure that we've got transparency and accuracy in direct-to-consumer prescription drug advertising, including by increasing the amount of information there, saying they shall take appropriate action to enforce the existing rules to ensure truthful and non-misleading information in direct-to-consumer advertisements. Doesn't create or eliminate any other rights, and so that's happening now. Now, Zero Hedge said, holy crap, Trump signed a memo that is going to disclose all risks of pharma companies. Rest in peace to cable TV, right? Because they're not going to want to say all those things. If they got to dedicate like equal time, the first 30 seconds are about the benefits that you might experience. The second 30 seconds are about how it might kill you and how you're going to be addicted to this thing for the rest of your life. Well, they're not going to want to advertise that. So they may just pull their ads. Here's what RFK Jr. had to say.
Junior, Mr. Secretary, thanks for the time. The president just signed an executive order making some news here when it comes to pharmaceutical ads.
The president just signed an executive order that's an historic change in the way that pharmaceutical advertising is done on television. And the order basically reinstates or gives us now the opportunity to reinstate the 1997 rules. Prior to 1997, pharmaceutical advertisers were required to put all the side effects on their ads. Many of them didn't advertise because of what it did to the length of the ad advertising. And the removal of that requirement in 1997, FDA changed the rule to allow them to report the side effects on a website or on a telephone. And they only had to report a few of them on television. That triggered a proliferation of these ads. There's only 2 countries in the world that allowed direct-to-consumer advertising by pharmaceutical companies on television. We're one of those countries. New Zealand is the other. It's had a disastrous impact on human health, on people's relationships with their doctors, and really on the entire gestalt where Americans are led to believe that there's a pill for every ill, and that you don't have to exercise, you don't have to pay attention to your diet. Whatever goes wrong with you, you can fix with a drug.
Crazy.
So how much does this change the dynamic for pharmaceutical companies that have been advertising on all kinds of channels and even online? They're going to have to do a lot more specifically.
They're going to have to report all their side effects. In some cases, that might create an advertisement that's 4 minutes long. Back prior to 1997, advertising in magazines had page after page after side effects reported. And so we don't know exactly what it will do. We know it's going to be better for the health of Americans.
Yeah, it's a big deal because there is this kind of culture in America where you have this instant gratification kind of consumerism that's bled into a lot of us, right? You go in, you buy the thing, you have this delivered overnight, you get immediate relief, satisfying that dopamine hit of clicking add to cart and buy now, all the things. And you kind of expect that same pattern to happen with your health. You're going to go in, talk to the doctor. Oh, medical science is so good. I'll just take this pill and it's just going to solve all my problems for me. Little do we know that the pharmaceutical companies are liars and they're not thinking about our best interests. They're thinking about their bottom line. And if they could get you to take a pill and then take another pill to counteract the bad side effect of the first pill, they'll do it. And you can see people all the time who have, just this like stack of medications that are all meant to really address the symptoms of the problem, not actually address the underlying problem. And maybe if we encourage people to have more cognizance of their health, we didn't even during COVID encourage people to exercise. We had obesity as one of the leading, if not the leading comorbidity, so-called, of death during the COVID cases. And they didn't even mention exercise back during the time, or diets, or other things like smoking or drinking or any of that. They just said, just lock yourself down until pharma can save you. Then go get the mandatory jab that is funneling billions of dollars into their portfolios and into their stocks. So it was a scam, obviously. This is such a refreshing thing to see. A lot of people, I think, will be unhappy about this because they want that. They want to know what the latest drug is. I got this little problem going on. So I see an ad. Oh, I have that. Oh, I have that. So I'll just order the drug. And if they're not advertising, it's not an easy solution. A pill is a lot easier than waking up every day and exercising for an hour. Problem is, it doesn't solve the problem. So we're happy to see these developments. And of course, we'll keep our eye on it. We'll see if those ads change or disappear.